I want to thank you for stopping by. I'd like to talk about 5 different reasons why you should avoid dating single mothers. One of the most compelling arguments against dating a single mother is the likelihood that she has a history of challenging decision-making. You must look at someone's history and the decisions that they've made in the past and tell yourself that this is a predictor of the decisions that they will make in the future, as well as the quality of those decisions. This is something that you obviously know they are going to make in the future, and the outcome will depend on factors such as the circumstances, such as whether or not the woman was married to a man who served in the military. Do you really want to align yourself with somebody who's demonstrated such poor judgment, and would you be surprised when they exhibit this poor judgment in other matters? Well, it's not her fault. She did make a poor choice. However, if she just slept with some guy who was the wrong kind of man and now she's a single mother, do you really want to align yourself with somebody who's demonstrated such poor judgment? You can get a good idea of what a person is going to be like in the future by looking at what they've done in the past and how they behaved. Future, and there's absolutely nothing a mother could do for her child that would be worse than this. Than to get rid of one of its parents, to not provide it with a safe, secure, and loving environment. They've already failed at the most fundamental basic thing. What you know what I mean. So it's like, I understand, she's very attractive or something like that. Yeah. That's true, right? So it's like, I understand, she's very attractive or something like that. The second reason why you shouldn't get together with single mothers is that her priority is going to have to be to take care of the child and look after the child. In other words, I've seen some very attractive single mothers. It's like very impressive. Anyway, moving on to number 2, the second reason why you shouldn't get together with single mothers is that her priority is going to have to be to take care of the child and look after the child, and there is no way that you could ever be anything other than second fiddle at best. And in my opinion, you already know what's going to happen, which is that you're not even going to be second fiddle. There is no way that you could ever be anything other than second fiddle at best. At best, you're going to be, the person who cleans up afterwards. If you choose to become involved with a single mother who has already shown that she has poor judgment, then that is exactly what you are going to become. In other words, you are going to be the janitor. Having any kind of expectation of any kind of unemotional behavior is not a good idea because her priorities in life are going to be something that will come a very long way down the line. Interaction is ridiculous. That with a single mother, right? What you're going to get is frustration, and you're going to get manipulation, and you're going to get problems, and you really can't expect anything else, and you can't anticipate anything else either. Interaction is absurd. Okay, let's move on to the next reason why you shouldn't get involved with single mothers. Number 3, she's going to have financial problems as well, right? Number 3, she's going to make poor choices in her life. It's like, it's like, I don't know how anybody could be surprised and she's got financial problems. She's not going to care about anybody else in her life, and she's going to have financial problems right now. It's like, duh, of course. At this point, I'm hoping that you guys will be able to anticipate some of the other problems that are going to crop up down the road. And you already know that the thing about problems with finances is that they rarely occur. It is not a question of whether or not you have sufficient funds to live within your means. Rather, the issue at hand is whether or not a person is able to exercise self-control over their hunger levels. If you could control yourself and then discipline yourself, you can make money. However, if you can't do those 2 things in that order, no matter how much money you earn, you will lose it. If you can do those 2 things in that order, you can make money. But if you can't do those 2 things in that order, you will lose it. You do realize that it is an accurate depiction of the situation, don't you? Is not going to be enough. I really hope that everything is starting to make sense and that you can see that this is the whole picture so that we can definitely learn something from this. She has gotten together, she has had a child, and she is not in a position to raise it, support it, provide for it, and give it a better life. The single mother has ruined herself because she failed to see the long-term situation and she failed to see the long game correctly. She has gotten together, she has had a child. Then, once you've done it, and this idea that we as a society have to be compassionate towards this, it's like, maybe you're being compassionate towards the stupidity rather than being compassionate towards the people that are involved. If you were compassionate toward the people who were involved in it, you would educate them a little better, you would inform them a little better, and you would help them avoid getting into this situation where they now become dependent, wouldn't you? These are all things that you would do if you were compassionate. It's just human nature that the women just can't help getting together with the first guy that they're attracted to and having children, and then having some kind of emotional problem chasing the father away and not really developing. The stupid women just can't help getting together with the first guy that they're attracted to and having children. A relationship to raise the child and a family. Also now you're just going to get it free money. You're going to get it free money and just kind of encourage the situation, which begs the question of why a woman who is expecting a child would ever want to be a feminist and never hate men. You see what I mean, and you know what I mean, and you know what I mean there. There's a huge tip-off right there. Okay, if the single mother has any sort of feminist leanings, you know it's like, oh my God, not only have you done something really stupid that someone else on every level is going to have to pay the price for, but now you're doubling down. Now you're compounding the error. You know what I mean now? You're not even able to say, oh, maybe I could use a decent man, right? Like, no, she can't do it. So these are signs of a person's character and judgment. And it's like checking out a sword. Okay, it could be an extremely expensive sword. It could even be a famous sword, but you need to look at the construction of it. You need to look at the condition of it. You need to look at what you might not be able to do, an x-ray of a person's character. Like, you can see what they've been through, what shaped their character, where it came from, what their flaws and weaknesses are, and the fact that we all have similar weaknesses. You are aware that every one of us is driven by the desire to experience the greatest amount of pleasure possible with the least amount of exertion possible, right? But when you see this taken to an extreme, like the person who is unable to control their appetite and becomes overweight and obese and disgusting, and then they refuse to do the things that are necessary to take care of their health, and then they can't even admit it to themselves, then you know that this has gone too far. You are aware of the nature of their issues because you are aware that they were unable to preserve any semblance of a positive self-image. You don't want to be involved with a single mother for pretty much the same reason that you don't want to take a broken sword into battle or a flawed sword. That's why I'm saying it may not be broken, but it might be fundamentally flawed and one of the things. So they're walking around in this like delusion. That's pretty much why you don't want to be involved with a single mother. What I've realized over the course of my life is that the most important thing to focus on when judging a person is their character, because ultimately, their true selves will be revealed regardless of what it is that they claim to be saying. It makes no difference what they have because you already know that the only thing that matters is how these things demonstrate who they are, and that is what you will be working with. That is the raw material from which you will work, and it is not even just someone's intention. Rather, it is more than just intention because we can deduce what your intention is based on the results you have produced so far. Not always, because we have to be aware of your condition in order to make the appropriate accommodations. For example, if a woman is, I don't know she's having children, and the man goes to war, we cannot make those accommodations. Perhaps, and you know what I mean by this, she did actually make a wise decision, but unfortunate events prevented that from happening, and you know this. Therefore, the question expands to become one about the role that luck plays in the destinies of individuals, and let's be honest, luck does play some role. If you want to be certain, you can say that it plays a role of at least 50%. You are aware that in a normal circumstance, let's just say 50, and that still means that people of character and discipline and vision who come from a good place, they are going to come through because even though fate and fortune might be unfavorable to them half of the time, they are not motivated by insignificant short-term rewards. So what you're looking to hear with the single mother is somebody who can't deny their momentary temporary desires from a female having a child point of view. You can understand that their wants and their needs do become this larger priority and have this whole emotional physiology associated with it, right? They are going to keep trying, and they are not motivated by insignificant short-term rewards. Therefore, this is the place where the men who worship the women and who like to serve them come together. It's like, no, you're not doing them any favors by being in that kind of an emotional state and being subject to their emotional whims. This is why I say that the only respectable way for a man to go is the MGTOW way. It's the only way that's dignified. Now, there are some men who would say that means he doesn't have any involvement with women, and it just means but I don't necessarily agree with that interpretation of the statement. To clarify, what I mean is that I believe it is necessary for a man to discover who he is on his own before he can be with another person. I say that a man going the way of women or MGTOW right, it's got that extra O at the end. I said that that's a weak way. I said that's the wrong way, and I say that women don't respect that and what we are witnessing. I said that that's a weak way. I said that's the wrong way, and it's got that extra O at the end. Now is the time when the women's disdain and hatred for the blue pill man are bringing about his destruction, along with the destruction of the blue pill world, and we are all in that lifeboat. If a man worships women, they will shred him to pieces, as will society and civilization as a whole. Right now, the man has to go to the middle of the town. He will become a cuckold. He will get together with an attractive woman and look after another man's child, and everyone around him will say that it is the good thing to do because, of course, children need love and a male influence. He will also look after the child while he is with the attractive woman. I'm right, but if what you say is true, then I want to know where the male is, who the biological father is, why he was kicked out, and why someone like you is being brought in as a replacement. If this was true, right, if those principles were true that they're telling you to justify your sacrifice, then why didn't they hold true to them in the first place? Since they didn't, this is the thing of virtue because they didn't. You know what I mean when I say that people without virtue use the call of virtue on somebody who has virtue in order to manipulate them, and that is exactly what is happening right now with men. You know what I mean when I say that when you're dealing with the government, you're asking why does the government do this? And you know what I mean when I say that why are the politicians letting in? You know all of these refugees are destroying the native populations and they're tax-based that is not the right thing to do. It's like, well, there's the price of virtue, right? Because you've got virtue and you're looking at it from that point of view. They're not looking at it from that point of view. They're looking at it from. There was a slight issue with the sound there and people are considering it from the perspective of a practical single mother, right? They are considering it from. You know, from a getting the bills paid for the following month point of view, so that's what you're dealing with when you're dealing with a single mother point of view, so that's what you're dealing with when you're dealing with somebody who has no ability, to look into the future, who has no ability to discipline themselves in the present. So that's what you're dealing with when you're dealing with a single mother point of view, so that's what you. This is your major group think, you know what I mean? This is the social group that they want you to go along with so that you can be this kind of a dependent. And so that you can be a part of that group, it's like, well, are you suggesting that a person should, have to be responsible for what they eat, for what they do, and for who they sleep with? Are you suggesting that it's like, yes, I'm suggesting complete personal responsibility. But I am aware that people are in the situations that they are in and that these emotional situations can have such a huge impact on people. Even though when you are a young person, you are not even aware of it. I am aware that people are in the circumstances that they are in. It's kind of like if you had an alcoholic parent, like a mother or father, and they were manipulating and shaming you into doing various things and doing them favors and making their life easier because it was the right thing to do. That's kind of how this works. It's as if they're saying, well, what the hell? What about the good thing by you? What about the good thing by you that they were supposed to do? So don't let yourself be upset about it. You are aware that you are being manipulated by people who lack virtue. It's not that I don't think you have virtue. What I'm saying is that you shouldn't allow yourself to be manipulated by other people who don't have virtue. And you should use your virtue to improve the world around you and identify the people who you believe to be worthy of your consideration. Interacting with and then, just being friends with, trying to help them out. Whatever, I'm not going into serious details here because I don't know and it doesn't really matter. But you don't want to take care of another man's child and you don't want to do it. And let's take this comparison of the single mother and let's bring it out to the nation level because, we are a cuckolded nation and we are taking care of all of these single mothers and all of these feminist children's. You don't want to do it. And you don't want to do it. You are aware of all of their children as well as their desires and requirements, but these women are not our partners, they are not our spouses, they are not our wives, they are not our girlfriends, and they are not our mistresses. Instead, they are the ones who find fault, shame, and belittle others, and then use this information to attack. They are just like the parent who is manipulating the child into doing favors for them, doing things for them, and taking care of them because it is the right thing to do. The appeal of the virtue of civilization is to take care of their wants and needs, which is a sign of their lack of character and weakness, when the appropriate action would have been for that parent to foster growth in that child and to help the child develop into a self-reliant and confident adult, despite the fact that, to be perfectly honest with you, that parent lacked those characteristics themselves. It's not as if they were able to pass them on to their child. However, they should have recognized the importance of doing so, if you get what I'm saying. That they were not the type of person that they wanted their children to be, that they wanted their children to be better people than they were right, but they don't do that they well in some cases they do right, that they were not the type of person that they wanted their children to be, that they wanted their children to be better people than they were right. You guys probably get what I'm trying to say about not getting involved with the single mothers, and I think that it's a great metaphor for what we as a country, a nation, and a civilization are doing okay. Of course, there are plenty of good parents out there, but I think you guys understand what I'm trying to say about not getting involved with them. My apologies, but at this point you might be wondering, well, Howard, what are you going to do if you're not going to give all these single mothers welfare and free food and all these other free services? I'm sorry about that. Then they are going to go hungry and they are going to die and they are going to cause their children to suffer and or they might just get a job. You know what I mean? Or they might just start losing weight, or they might just start being expedient in how they deal with their lives, or rather they might not use expediency as their #1 calling in life. You know what I mean? They might start planning for the future and things. You know what I mean? They might start losing weight, or they might just start being expedient in how they deal with their lives. You know what I mean? They might start using expediency as their #1 calling in life. You know what I mean? Therefore, you are aware that we are helping to foster a nation and a civilization of single mothers and feminists, and that these individuals appeal to the guilt and goodness of other people even though they do not live by the same standards of virtue and goodness themselves. That which I am referring to ought to be saved for other individuals who have been taken advantage of by fortune and who, in their own right, possess that virtue. Assisting such individuals makes the world a better place. That is what we ought to be doing, and when we help people who are just, not taking care of themselves, that we're shortchanging the ones that we're supposed to be taking care of. So I understand why you feel that way.